Good day, fellow storytellers. My name is Earth Mama. Today's story is called Awakening the Spirit of the Rainbow. Long, long ago, there was a king, King Zimele, of the Mgodini kingdom. The king's advisory council was made up of 6 chiefs and a rain queen, Tabitha. The kingdom of Mgodini, as you see, was a dry, barren land that had not seen rain for many years. But despite this, the king's barns were full. You see, in the king's compound resided the most powerful, fierce warriors in the whole land. And the king would send them out to raid and attack the other villages, and all the spoils were brought back to the kingdom. Oh, but of late, King Zimele was restless. He was worried that one day these barns would run empty. So he called a council meeting of the 6 chiefs and the rain queen Tabitha. At the meeting, the king relayed his worries. However, all the eyes turned to Tabitha, the rain queen. The council had been made up of male leaders for decades, and the king had brought in Tabitha, the rain queen, the only female member of this council, to solve the issue of the rain, because only Tabitha could awaken the spirit of the rainbow. In Zulu, umoya wothingo lwenkosazane. Tabitha was no ordinary rain queen. She was an observant leader. She was always working and looking for ways to improve the kingdom of Mgodini. When all eyes turned to her, she looked down in dismay. She informed the council members that the spirit of the rainbow was not at peace with this kingdom and hence refused to shower it with rain. Unpacking the statement, she said, "My kingship, our land is not barren, but our culture is barren. And this is why the rain stops." Tabitha said, "We need to change our culture, my king and my esteemed council." King Zimele, who had been quiet all along, up until this point, asked her, how could it be changed? Tabitha, with conviction in her voice, responded, "We need to bring in maidens. Our land is blessed with maidens, industrious maidens from the Imfula village. The songstresses, the blacksmiths from Insimbi village, and the powerful maiden warriors from the Intanzi village. They could join our command. All of these maidens, with their different skills, could result in a change for the Mgodini kingdom." But the council, the 6 chiefs, they were not impressed. They were murmuring, they were hissing, they were shaking their heads until the king said, "Stop! Tabitha, it shall be as you said. The kingdom will bring in the best maidens from the surrounding villages to join the king's compound." You see, everyone, the king's compound was the most esteemed place to be in the kingdom of Mgodini. "Council," he continued, "they will be treated equal to the male warriors, with the pay of 2 sheep and a portion of land," the king said, in a very authoritative voice. The king continued to iterate how he expected the council to align with his vision and the strategy of changing the culture of Mgodini for the sake of their survival. The council, the 6 chiefs, and the rain queen Tabitha all agreed to align with the king's vision. The next few months signaled a change in the kingdom of Mgodini. The wonderful maidens, the strong warrior maidens, were brought from all the surrounding villages into the kingdom's compound. In the 6th month of this new change, Tabitha, with confidence, confidence girl, went to the sacred hills to call upon the spirit of the rainbow. Oh, hands up in prayer, chanting for 3 hours. Nothing happened. Tabitha was baffled. What could be blocking the rain? Had the kingdom not transformed? Had they not invented new equipment from ideas brought by the maidens? In a quest to answer the questions, Tabitha went out to investigate. She walked around the king's compound, observing how the maidens were working. She spent weeks doing this, and on the 5th week, she took her observations back to the king's council meeting. Tabitha informed them how she had called upon the spirit of the rainbow 5 weeks ago, and she had not been heard. She told the council that she had observed how difficult the environment was for the new maidens. The shields were too high for them to carry. Some of the tools were too heavy for them to carry. So the chiefs in the council concurred that they too had seen similar challenges. Much thought and debate went into the meeting, but finally they agreed to change the environment to ensure that the maidens could adapt to this place, make the tools lighter, create shields that were the relevant height for each maiden. And thus, a month later, after all these changes were made, Queen Tabitha, the Rain Queen, went back to the sacred hills to call upon the rainbow spirit. This time she was very confident. No, this time we have made the changes. We saw the problems. She was chanting and praying for 3 hours. The rainbow spirit looked down at her, shook her head, ignored her. Perturbed and exhausted, Tabitha went back to the council that evening to give her feedback. My king and the chiefs, the spirits still seem to be displeased with us, Tabitha said. The king was so distraught he threw away his royal robe. What must we do, my leaders? What do we need to do? The king lamented. After a few minutes, one of the 6 chiefs suggested, my king, call the 6 maidens to the royal kraal and let us discuss with them and see maybe there's something we're missing. The king agreed, but only Tabitha, the Rain Queen, would have the meeting with the royal maidens at dawn. The rooster crowed, cock-a-doodle-doo, signaling the rise of a new dawn. All the maidens went to gather in the royal kraal. Tabitha opened the meeting by welcoming the maidens and thanking them for their contributions that they had made in changing the kingdom. The Rain Queen then asked them how things were going, what they were struggling with. There was silence. She decided not to force them and to remain patient. Finally, one brave maiden came to the front. She told the Rain Queen how the generals in the royal army had refused to promote her and instead demoted her because she had refused his lewd and monstrous advances. They stopped her training, and all she was supposed to do now was bring water. Another maiden, now feeling brave, also came to the front. And she told a tale of how one of the generals made lewd remarks about her physical attributes. Her hips, her chest, her behind, to the point that the other warriors never took her seriously, and they started mocking her. One general was blatant enough to ask a maiden to bed. And when she refused, she was kicked out of the ranks. Queen Tabitha was furious. She asked the maidens to name these generals, and 2 names came up. The perpetrators were General Kamba and General Josie. Queen Tabitha promised to take the news back to the king, but also promised to keep identities anonymous. She rushed back to the council, called an urgent council meeting, and told the king of what she had found out. The king immediately sent his horn blowers to the center of the compound to gather everyone within the king's compound for a meeting. Kamba and Josie, come to the fore. The 2 generals walked proud and tall, chests heaved out. But they did not know what was waiting for them. The king told the compound how these 2 had made a disgrace of his name and that of the kingdom, how they'd gone against his ruling, his authority, by touching the maidens. The king then told them the penalty of such wrongdoing was death. Kamba and Josie pleaded with the king, but he heard none of it. With one clean swipe, their heads were gone. He gave the heads to the village messengers and told them to run throughout the village and tell the tale of what had happened to these 2 generals. After this change, transformation was seen in the kingdom. Of course, it was shocking. But after a few months, actually many moons passed, and the kingdom started to change again. 2 new chiefs, 2 new female chiefs were ordained into the council. A female blacksmith opened her own blacksmithing training for the new recruits. Female generals, 3 of them, were promoted in the army. Tabitha was so happy. That change had finally come to the kingdom of Mgodini. Once again, Tabitha made her way to the sacred hills. She raised her hands up in prayer. Then she felt a cold drop on her cheek. She looked up, opened her eyes. And the heavens opened. Showers of rain filled the land. Tabitha laughed. She cried. Her echoes could be heard throughout the village. The kingdom finally had received rain. The rainbow spirit, umoya wothingo lwenkosazana, had finally heard and seen their transformation. And once again, rain came to the kingdom of Mgodini. Thank you, everyone.